Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Kevin Stefanski just won Coach of the Year last year, but he may be coaching for his job tonight as the Browns face the Steelers. And the Bucs may be turning things around in Milwaukee. Plus, we look back at one of the most epic upsets ever. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Cleveland Browns take on the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday Night Football. The Steelers 8-2. The Browns, well, they're the opposite, 2-8. But they are a team that last year didn't give up. They've made a quarterback change thanks to injury. And Kevin Stefanski is a two-time Coach of the Year. Jeff, let's start here. Jeff Lloyd from Locked On Browns. What is this team trying to accomplish the rest of the way here? Because they are all but out of the AFC playoff race.
Oh, well, there's no question about that. Look, I think they just want to show well. I mean, you just want to keep going at it. And I think that's been some of the issues here. And it was a really bad time for the bye week, because when you kind of know you're already done and you're going to take your bye and you kind of go in a semi-vacation mode, where is the absolute motivation to come back and, basically go compete in 8 games that, for a lot of guys just seem like they don't mean anything. You're in a tough spot here. And I'm even going to say, even if Baltimore sits Lamar Jackson the last week, because say they know what's going to go on, can I even beat what's left of Baltimore after that? These are questions I don't think turn out well for Cleveland. So first, there's things that work against Kevin Stefanski. Look, if you won 11 games and you only win 2, man, you talk about a fireable offense, probably a fireable offense.
And someone has to take the blame for the quarterback decision, even if that was something that was being pushed from on high. And it's not like the Haslams are going to sell the team because they made a bad call on the quarterback. So is this just one of those things where a word that I can't say, crap rolls downhill?
Yes, because that was going to be point number 2. The Deshaun Watson trade as well is a fireable offense, right? Because even, some of these things where, the offensive line all of a sudden got old, guess what? If he had 3 more first round picks, that now would be in year 3, year 2, or a rookie step, maybe that would be something that would have, helped you alter other things. And the other thing is that, I don't know how it looks that every other quarterback besides Deshaun Watson has looked comparable, has looked capable. There are so many ways to look at this. Yes. But for me, the pros of it are, I truly believe you have a good head coach. You have a good general manager. I think, do you have good people? Do you believe that players are going to be happy with this general manager, with this head coach? Yes. But there are some things that you just look at and it's like, well, you have to, for the sake of it. And there's just, I don't know how many winning games, what that necessarily does. And I just did an episode on this yesterday. This team does go 2-15 in contention for the number 1 overall pick. That's something that may be alluring, having the number 1 overall pick, although, the Steelers are scattered as far as, where the quarterbacks are, in this draft class, which is a question.
They're taking number 1 overall.
Without question, Peter. Then the other thing also would be, a lot of draft assets, but you're a 2-15 football team, and all of a sudden this team is back to same old Browns. So my other thing, and what I'm trying to tell people is well, okay, move on from everybody. Who's going to their agent and saying, Cleveland's the job I want? And everybody, Vrabel's been here all year. Yeah, Vrabel has a first, a front row seat to all of this year. And you know what he might say? No, thank you. Absolutely.
He's gonna have options. Yeah.
Yeah, and I tell everybody, Mike Vrabel just seems like New York Giants head coach. If that job were open, Mike Vrabel, New York Giants head coach, just seems like a viable option. They both have contract extensions which is, muddies the waters as well. Not that Jimmy Haslam truly cares about the money, whatever, I'll pay you. You can just get out of here. I mean, which would be totally, laughable and a good laugh over the fact that you're paying a quarterback to not play for your team. You're paying a head coach to not coach your team. You're paying a general manager not to general manage your team. But billionaire people can do billionaire things, and there's just so much to it. I think you want the team to look competitive. Look, there are some things that make this team look good right now. Jerry Jeudy over the last couple of weeks, Cedric Tillman over the last couple of weeks. Those are things that kind of look positive. And, people want to give Andrew Berry, issues over his drafts. Well, the 2023 draft, which was the second to last one, with the Deshaun Watson, you may have drafted your 2025 starting left tackle in DeJuan Jones. You may have drafted a starting wide receiver in Cedric Tillman. Isaiah McGuire could be edge 3 or certainly in your edge rotation. You got Mahmoud Diabate, who's, if not a starting linebacker in 2025, part of the rotation. Ronnie Hickman as a UDFA could be your starting free safety, or certainly is going to be in your safety rotation. So, when things go bad, the bad always gets personified, and nobody ever wants to look at any of the good, and any of the positive. But, there has been a lot that's gone on here. This has never been the laughing, I guess we're using crap as that word, the crap show that had been in Cleveland for many, many times. Even when it's bad right now, it's not Hugh Jackson bad. It's not laughable bad. It's not everybody in the NFL going, oh my God, bad. So I don't know how it goes. But, and for me and for people who do this, if they end up 2-15, like if you're not making the playoffs, I don't want to draft 17th, especially with the way this class is regarded as well. There are so many factors that go into it. You want to look competitive each and every week, which they did up until the fourth quarter, until Taysom Hill's old butt, embarrassed him in the fourth quarter. Because that's the question. If you're not going to get effort, that's also a huge, huge strike as well, because you're going to measure somebody and measure, where their leadership of men. It's real easy to lead when things are going good. How well can you lead, when things are bad? And with this schedule in front of them, they could easily conceivably lose every game. But if you said every week they were competitive, every week they were close, which you have a hard time believing maybe that is going to be the case. But there are a lot of decisions to be made. And, again, you're 7 weeks out. You don't know where this is, truly headed as far as the decisions that are going to be made. But I mean, as I told everybody on the episode, I'm going to sit here like the judge. There is not one side of any discussion I'm not going to listen to. I'm not going to give merit to, because you can make strong cases for, okay, you know what? Let's get these, because part of it, again, is the loss of draft capital. It really is. So this year you would have 11 picks. You still, and people need to listen, the Browns will still have money. They will still be able to acquire talent. Even when they tell Deshaun, we redid your contract, here's your money, but you're not welcome in the state of Ohio anytime soon. So there is just so much that's going to go on here. And, for me, it's also, I kind of equate it to the whole Baker situation when it went down. Look, we know 21 was bad. And, in hindsight, and Baker's even said it now, I probably shouldn't have played. Because he was riding high after 2020. It fell apart. He felt he was one of the boys, wanted to be one of the boys, and it turned out to be his ultimate detriment. This is a real situation where you say, hey, it's great, but if I'm peeking over the other side, am I going to sit here in 18 months with the same remorse factor we kind of felt, once Baker got to Tampa and all of a sudden started looking like himself again? It is a real big apple onion to be peeled until you get to the core, and it's going to come down to Jimmy. And there is the fact of, could it be the coach? Could it be the general manager? Could it be both? I mean, there's a million ways to look at this, but there are some stark negatives that, you're going to get some blowback if you overlook those and say, yeah, I'm going to run it back. But if you believe in these guys and what they can do, and look, everybody's got their hands in these mistakes. Okay. Everybody wears egg over Deshaun. So if you want to kick them both out over the Deshaun Watson trade failing, that's fine. You're an aggravated billionaire. And I also think that's probably part of the reason Deshaun was playing a little further into the season, because it was no. I gave you $230 million guaranteed. You told me this was the guy. This was going to be the guy. So I think that's why he kept getting run out there each and every week, even though they felt they probably had a better chance to win playing somebody else. But yeah, I mean, to sit here with this team at 2-8, where they're at, knowing you have to change an offensive line, your secondary, all of a sudden, the defense that was so great, there are a lot of issues with this team, Peter. And if you broke everything down, I mean, one of the only things that I would say would be a positive and would receive maybe a passing grade would say, well, the linebackers aren't that bad, but it's 2024 and it's the most meaningless position in football. So
you can stay up to date all year on the Cleveland Browns by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Browns on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, the Bucs maybe finally righting the ship. Before we get to that, maybe Woody Johnson isn't totally enamored with Aaron Rodgers. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in their app. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet, and that winning $5 bet could be on, let's say Thursday Night Football. The Steelers travel to Cleveland to face the Browns for the first of two meetings over the course of the next 3 weeks. The Steelers are 3.5-point favorites. Is that all? FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Jets owner Woody Johnson considered benching quarterback Aaron Rodgers when he met with team leaders back on September 30th. Since the initial report from The Athletic, there have been multiple reports from different sources on that meeting. One believed Johnson said it more as a joke, while another said the Jets owner seemed genuinely perturbed. Of course, if the owner of a football team wants someone benched, then they will be benched. Rodgers, of course, survived the threat. It's unclear whether he knew about it, but he certainly knows about it now. Two people in that meeting, former coach Robert Saleh and former general manager Joe Douglas, are no longer with the Jets. So I don't know. They know what happened. If this were some kind of mystery movie, then the next scene would be the reveal that Rodgers was in on this the whole time. Maybe he was. He loves a conspiracy. And Major League Baseball announced the Cy Young winners last night. Braves hurler Chris Sale in the National League and Tigers ace Tarik Skubal in the AL took home the hardware. It is just the third time ever that two left-handed pitchers won the award. Last time that happened, 2002. Skubal was a unanimous vote for the AL, while Sale took all but 4 first-place votes in the National League. The Milwaukee Bucks started the season with championship aspirations. They also started with a 2-8 record, but after a 122-106 win over the Chicago Bulls last night, they've won 4 of their last 5, and the 5th happened on a last-second call that the NBA admitted they got wrong. Frank Madden from Locked On Bucks, never wrong with us, Frank. And Frank, what has been different about this Bucks team the last week and a half or so when they've been winning these games?
I mean, the question of what the Bucks' identity was going to be has been sort of the recurring theme of this early part of the season. They've been winning games largely with their defense. I think tonight against the Bulls, it was actually like good offense and then good enough defense that kind of held together in spite of another big 3-point shooting performance from the Bulls. Last time that happened, the Bucks lost going away at home to this same Chicago team who just blitzed them from 3-point range. Tonight, it looked like it might turn into a similar story, but they did enough defensively, and then they got a whole lot of Giannis, especially in the third quarter, before kind of buckling down a little bit in the fourth quarter. And the Bulls finally kind of coming back down to earth a little bit from the 3-point line. So look, is this team playing championship level defense? I'm not going to go so far and say that. We've seen them be able to play high levels of defense for stretches. Obviously we've seen Giannis make huge plays defensively, with the shot block against the Rockets in the kind of waning seconds to give them a chance to win that game. We saw maybe the best play he's made all season was an incredible defensive recovery block on an alley-oop against the Pistons in the overtime game that he scored 59 points in. That might have been his best play of the game, and he scored 59 points. And Brook Lopez as well. Brooks, I mean, his rim protection has been really good all year, but the fact that his offense has started to come around and prop up an offense that has kind of struggled way beyond what we would have expected from a team that, even without Chris Middleton, has 2 top 75 players in Giannis and Dame. You expect this team to at least be like pretty good offensively, but they've been kind of bad, below average basically all year. So tonight, a little bit of a get right game against a Bulls team that obviously gives up a lot of points. And certainly Giannis held up his end. Dame struggled again from 3, which has been a weird theme of late as well. But AJ Green, big performance from him. Brook Lopez, I think another good game on both ends. And yeah, again, kind of the defense has been weirdly giving them a chance of late. And it's kind of been come down to, okay, like, can the offense do enough? And certainly tonight they did enough. And again, whether that's a sign of where they're kind of hopefully getting to where they need to be offensively to be confirmed, but certainly this team with the weapons they have, they've got to at least be a pretty good offense, and certainly to be anywhere close to what they wanted to be coming into the season, they've still got to get a lot better on both ends, I think.
Yeah, 69 points in the first half, in addition to being a nice score in the first half. It was probably the best the offense looked all season, right? With the passing, the cutting, they seem to be connected in a way that we just haven't seen. And I wonder, and would love your input on this, They tightened up the rotation in this game. Andre Jackson Jr. started the game, but Bobby Portis played his normal 22 minutes. And you had Gary Trent and AJ Green, basically the only guys off the bench that played significant minutes until the waning moments. Delon Wright mixed in there a little bit. Are they finding this rotation a little bit after kind of searching through the first month or so?
I mean, to be continued, right? I think, interestingly, Chris Middleton, the report pregame, Shams Charania reporting that basically Middleton is cleared to play, and it's really now at this point a matter of him feeling comfortable enough and healthy enough for him to come back. I'll treat that as a positive in the sense that, if you had heard that he had a setback, you'd be very concerned with the 2 ankle surgeries that he's come off of. This seemed more like perhaps of a challenge coming from inside the building, the phone call coming from inside the building, perhaps. Yes. To maybe,
hey, we'd like you to play here at some point.
Yeah, hey Chris, maybe it's about time to get back on the court. If and when that happens, I think that obviously kind of gives their offense in particular another dimension with his playmaking and scoring from all over the floor. But I think when you look at AJ Green and Gary Trent, I think the obvious thing that those guys bring is they actually have some semblance of two-way playability, right? And Taurean Prince has been a bit up and down at times. He didn't score last game after having an awesome game in Charlotte, but most part has been very good this year. Obviously, he can also kind of bring a bit more of two-way. So certainly when you look at, kind of these last couple games, who's playing and who's not, certainly you might say, well, it looks like Doc is basically giving the guys who he can count on both ends more of that leash. And, Andre Jackson, as much as he's been a great story defensively, the on-off numbers are incredible with Andre on the floor, especially defensively and the pressure he can bring. Offensively, he's still very much a work in progress. He should have had, a dump down for a dunk from Giannis, and he somehow ends up jumping and kicking it out 25 feet when he probably could have easily dunked it, right? It's like, Andre, just finish around the basket. But yeah, I think Green and Trent, they're floor stretchers, and I think Doc trusts those guys to defend, and especially AJ Green. I think AJ Green's played much better defense than Gary Trent of late, and it was great, I thought, to hear on the ESPN broadcast them acknowledging and calling that out, that AJ Green, a guy that I jokingly refer to as the guy who gets racially profiled by the other team defensively most nights. Certainly the Rockets and Jalen Green and others fell into that trap the other night as well. We saw Zach LaVine trying to do that tonight. And a lot of times guys
Kobe White in the lane.
Yeah, they, guys like see him and, he's kind of this pale guy. He's 6'4". He doesn't have super long arms, and, they think they can attack him. But again, he's sturdy, and probably most importantly, he moves his feet and he anticipates well. And that's something that over the last year plus, the Bucks have had so many problems. I think defensively, that's kind of been the root of their problems, is the fact that they just have not had guys that can keep the offensive player in front of them. It's kind of the, most basic thing that you can do from a perimeter defensive standpoint. And again, he's not going to be perfect, but most of the time he's not making it easy. He's not giving the offensive player a chance to get in the lane or forcing the Bucks defense to get into rotation, which that's really when the Bucks get into trouble. When they get bent, they give up a dribble penetration. Brooke, Giannis, everybody collapses, tries to go and help out. That's when the ball starts to move. Open threes really begin to hurt them. And open threes did hurt them tonight, but certainly wasn't AJ Green's fault. And some of those threes, especially from Zach LaVine, were not particularly open either. He just had a heater. Although we have to say, I think he scored after AJ Green got a shot at him mid-third quarter. I think he only scored 2 points the rest of the way. So I'm not going to say AJ Green's, all defensive team candidate or a stopper or something like that, but he's just rock solid and hit a big three in the fourth quarter as well. He's just a guy that they really need. They really need offensive sparks. They really need guys that compete defensively, get on the floor. And that's what he's been doing. And again, Gary Trent finally coming around a little bit, making some shots. That's also been big for them. So things kind of inching in the right direction for the Bucks. And honestly, they've got still a number of months where they can try to figure out how to become a great team. Right now, they just need to win some games and get back to being like a pretty good team. And they are showing some signs of life there, but certainly a lot of work to be done, especially when you think about the expectations that they came into this season with. Still a long ways off from saying you're in the same ballpark as the Cavs or the Celtics, but they've also already played those teams 4 times. 3 of those games were actually came down really to the last minute, in some cases the last possession in those Cavs games. So again, Bucks are not going to be about moral victories this year, but at least pushing things in the right direction. And next game up here against the Indiana Pacers, who also have been struggling a fair bit. Going to be a fun matchup on Friday with those 2 teams, given the recent history that they've had.
Stay up to date on the Milwaukee Bucks all year long by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Bucks on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, we look back at one of the biggest upsets in sports history. Locked On Presents has a new series out, Slaying Goliath, how Appalachian State conquered a giant. It's a 4-part narrative series recounting the historic 2007 upset of Michigan by an FCS school in Boone, North Carolina. Through interviews with the players and coaches that made it happen, this series highlights the details that made the upset possible, as well as the impact it had on the sport of college football. Hosted by Cole Weinstein.
It's the summer of 2005 at the Regal Boone Cinema in none other than Boone, North Carolina. Nestled among the Blue Ridge Mountains, Boone is a paradise for nature lovers. It's also home to Appalachian State University, and today, the Mountaineers football team are headed to a movie.
We all do stuff together after workouts and everything, so we all, Longest Yard remake. We're like, hell yeah, it looks hilarious. And it was a great movie. We all went down to the local theater. It was a pile of us. I don't know, probably 20 dudes. We went down there and we're watching it. Funny as hell, laughing. All of a sudden, Adam Sandler gives that quote.
For those who don't know what Mountaineers offensive lineman Kerry Brown is talking about, the 2005 version of The Longest Yard is a remake of the Burt Reynolds film of the same name 3 decades earlier. In the film, former star quarterback Paul Crewe, played this time by Adam Sandler, is in prison speaking with Warden Hazen, played by James Cromwell.
Relatively simple, you need a tune-up game.
Tune-up game?
Yeah, in college we start every season against Appalachian State or some slack Division II team. Kick the living shit out of them, get their confidence up.
As you would imagine, Brown and the rest of the App State football team were pretty shocked to hear their school's name rattle throughout the theater.
And we were all stunned. I mean, our jaw just dropped. Like, we thought it was like someone playing a joke on us in this movie theater. Because one, most people don't even know Appalachian State. 2, what the hell did we do to Adam Sandler? We just started throwing popcorn and stuff at the screen.
I mean, everybody's like, what in the world? Probably said a lot more words than that. So I'm not going to repeat them all. But hey, it's awesome. We got that little national notoriety at that point. But it's like, come on, guys, we're not pushovers either. We got to fix this stuff.
Julian Roush, the team's kicker, was right. Things needed to change, but it wouldn't take long. There are 3 reasons why I find this movie quote to be so great. 1, starting that fall, App State would go on to win 3 straight national championships, becoming one of the greatest small school football dynasties ever. 2, at the time, Appalachian State was Division I AA, soon to be known as FCS, not Division II. And 3, Appalachian State's biggest game in program history was a tune-up game for their opponent.
We reached a place where, at the end of the day, for us, we were looking for opportunities to play what we thought were pretty marquee games.
Then athletic director Charlie Cobb.
So the opportunity to play, you don't have to be the best team in the country every day. You got to be the best team in that stadium on that particular day. You look for those one opportunities, and if you got a pretty solid team, you got a chance to do something pretty incredible.
Everybody in the sports business referred to those games as money games.
Then App State head coach Jerry Moore.
We play Auburn because we're going to get a big check. We play whoever because we're going to get a big check. I said, I don't care what the contract is. We're not going to think of this as a money game. We're thinking of it as an opportunity game. We'll never get this opportunity again.
He was right. The Mountaineers may have been paid $400,000 to play Michigan that day in Ann Arbor, but the opportunity a game like that presents, well, that's priceless. It's so odd to me that this silly sports comedy remake foreshadows a defining moment in the history of college football. Here's Roush again.
It was kind of comical at times, and some people probably took it more serious than others, but it definitely just kind of put you on a national scene for no reason. And we kind of followed it up with a couple national championships and the biggest upset in college football history. So I wonder what Adam Sandler has to say now.
Find every episode of Slaying Goliath on Locked On Presents wherever you get podcasts. And finally, don't you love it when someone you know or someone you follow on social media announces to everyone on that social media platform that they are taking a break from social media? Same. Well, LeBron is taking a break from social media. The NBA's all-time leading scorer and Los Angeles Lakers star, of course, you know who LeBron is, posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram on Wednesday that he's stepping away from his pages. His announcement came one day after he said, everybody on the internet called me a liar all the time when he said he was watching Dalton Connect college games last year at Tennessee, long before the Lakers drafted the sharpshooting guard. Like, social media can be a real monster, but it also shows that no matter where you are in life, it can still get under your skin. And by the way, LeBron has a history of acting like he knew something was going to happen before it happened. This is legend if you are someone extremely online like me. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, will the Steelers' stranglehold on the AFC North tighten or dissipate? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.